Welcome to Inside the Franchise Growth Engine, presented by Hex Growth, a firm focused on building predictable pipelines, scalable growth systems, and enterprise value for emerging franchise brands. These are real stories from real operators, founders, and growth leaders, but we go deeper. Inside the Franchise Growth Engine, leaders unpack the systems, leadership decisions, and operational discipline that transforms growth into enterprise value. On today's podcast, we are excited to have Adam Geisler. Adam is the co-founder and CEO of Youth Athletes United, a multi-brand youth sports franchisor behind brands including Super Soccer Stars, Amazing Athletes, TGA Sports, Jump Bunch, and Little Rookie Baseball. Throughout his career, Adam has built and scaled businesses at the intersection of consumer brands, franchising, youth enrichment, with a leadership philosophy centered around franchisee success, operational excellence, and long-term value. Adam, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Don. What an intro. I love it.
Man, I had to get hyped. Monica and I were looking at we were looking at all the brands you guys have and just the great work you're doing with youth, here in the United States. So we were excited about it. And so I thought we would bring the excitement for your introduction for sure.
And speaking of, so Adam, since you've built businesses across several different industries before leading Youth Athletes United, what experiences shape the leadership philosophy you bring to franchising today?
Such a great question. So I've been very fortunate in my career. I've had some real positive experiences. Worked for some good sporting goods brands, legacy brands, Everlast, great family-run company. And I've also been part of some bigger companies where I learned, different skill sets, but I also learned how far away you can be from the culture. And I took all those experiences, and when we had the opportunity to start this, fundamentally, right, we have this vision. Every kid's an athlete, got fun all over the fundamentals. Like, those are the two new principles for us at Youth Athletes United. If you can't have that as your vision for what your actual product is, and that also not be your culture, it doesn't work. But your culture has to be the same as what your vision is. And so what's so wonderful about what we do today is the people who are calling our corporate employees that are helping support the franchisees at the franchisor level. They're as passionate as we are and as the franchisees are. They're dedicated. And we've had employees with us for almost 20 plus years through acquisitions, through all their growth, that just fundamentally care about positively impacting kids through sports, whether it's soccer, whether it's your multi-sport or any other brands that we have. And so you've got to have that culture. And so one of the ways that we do that is we make sure that we have a real challenge culture, right? The best idea should not certainly start with me, right? The best idea wins. So everybody feels like they've got a part in it. And that's at the corporate level and down to the franchisees. We want our franchisees to be the guiding principles for us. You want to listen to your franchisees. We actually changed one, not that it goes too far off the question, but we actually changed from having a franchise advisory council to a brand advisory committee. And it's a real subtle nuance, but one of the reasons we did is because we want the franchisees to help guide us. They're the ones who are literally day-to-day living the business. And sometimes at the franchisor level, you have these great ideas, but you're not living and breathing it the same way the franchisees are. So you want to listen, get their best ideas, and only do what's best for the franchisees. It's not about us and our ego. It's about how can they positively impact and grow their business and impact more kids through our platforms.
Yeah, I think when we talked the first time, I know I was particularly taken and thought about our conversation around how you focus on culture and then just the loyalty of your employees. I remember you talking about that. Adam, how do you balance growth with protecting the brand's culture and identity? I mean, I know you talked about the nuance of taking it from a brand, a franchise committee to a brand committee, but how do you protect that culture and identity as you grow? Because I know that you have so many different sort of bridge lines of franchise brands there.
We've learned our way through it. When we now acquire a new brand, if we decide to expand into a new brand, to your point, the first thing we do is we go to these brand advisory councils and say, listen, we're thinking about acquiring this brand. What does it mean to you? Are you very interested in it? Are you not interested? Do you feel like it's going to compete with you, or do you think it's going to be accretive? So we really partner with those franchisees to make sure that we have that identity. One of the things that we've talked about a lot is we're thinking hard about going into the educational space, into the STEM space. And so we have a brand that we'll be announcing here shortly that we're looking to bring you to the fold. But the first thing we did was went to our existing franchisee base and say, listen, you've got sports. If you have sports and you have education, do you think that that can actually help you grow your business? And we weren't sure, right? We weren't sure what their response. We saw it from our standpoint. And what's been really interesting about Youth Athletes United is we are now going to be almost 40% of our owners will own multiples of our brands. So it's not just that they're just a soccer person who's owning, the multi-sport business, right? These people have multiple brands. And so the biggest impact is they can go into an early childhood education center and say, listen, I can support you with soccer or multi-sport or martial arts or Little Rookies baseball. And that one franchisee has access to all these different curriculums and opportunities. And so we've really had this melting pot where it hasn't been just about only being soccer, only amazing athletes, or only TGI or tennis, golf, and pickleball brand. It's what is the best for the franchisee. And also, you and I talked about it as you're growing your business, your side, having the ability to go narrow and deep in the territory versus going wide really changed the complexity for us. And so we've been able to maintain our activity by making it an opportunity as we bring these other brands, these franchise owners, to just be narrow and deep in their territories and brand stack, as well as sometimes be multi-brand owners.
Yeah, I think it's the ultimate compliment for you and your leadership team, because when you have that many existing franchisees willing to buy the next brand and buy the next brand, I'll tell you what, man, I think you need to hold a master class and help emerging and existing CEOs that maybe struggle with that and forget that the real linchpin is the actual franchisee. I'm in a unique position where I think I shared with you before, where I'm a head of franchising for a brand, but I'm also a franchisee. And I can tell you that, and the number of CEOs that we've talked to from different brands, Adam, the ones that get it are just like you. And I think it's wonderful that you listen and hear, you hear the franchisees. Absolutely critical.
Yeah, we can definitely appreciate that aspect of putting the franchisees first and listening to their feedback. Because like you said, they're living it every day. And speaking about that support, what does world-class franchisee support actually look like in your organization? Like, what is an example of that?
I'd say we hold ourselves to a really high standard. One thing that we do that we're really dedicated to is FBR surveys. So Michelle Ron and the people at Franchise Business Review, I think it's really important. We hold ourselves to a really high standard. We want to hear from our franchisees the things that we're doing well and the things that we're not doing well. And we ask for a lot of transparency. We get probably 50% of the franchisees are not anonymous. They will give us good, and they will give us, critical feedback. And then we go and have one-on-one calls with each one of those franchisees on the good, the bad, and the areas that we need to improve. And we take it very seriously, and it drives a good amount of our business plan and our focus of how do we be a better franchisor. And I think the one thing that you could ask any of the people at corporate, we all hold ourselves accountable, right? And we don't shy away from it. If a franchisee is unhappy, they will get a phone call from somebody on our team or somebody at the department. And listen, sometimes it doesn't matter how much revenue you bring in. It matters what's the service level that we need to provide. So we hold ourselves to that level of excellence. And also the goal is that we want to have as few of those calls or as few of those comments as possible. So the more feedback that we get, the more we can solve the problem, and this will probably create more problems down the road because we're very, very creative and we like to continue to scale. But problem solving and I think being accountable is really, really important, and that's the support structure that we have from us as a franchise.
Yeah, I think it takes awareness and courage to not kick a can down the road. And I do see there are some franchisors that just don't want to solve those problems in real time, and so it's so good that you guys are dealing with it, head on, right? And it also says, I think it says to the franchisee that we respect your investment and your trust in us, and we're going to make it right. So that's awesome. Where do you think that many franchisors, Adam, intentionally fall short after awarding a franchise territory?
So, we look at first and foremost, our business is a little different than some others. So we first look at open, right? First thing we do is how quickly can you open? In our business, we're averaging almost a 45-day open, right? And so that first, it's crazy, right? But that's the first kid in class. It's a registration. I mean, you would love that, right? You have build outs, you have leases, all that stuff. But really focusing on how quickly can that person go from 0 to really we want to see the AUVs. But in that first year, 75,000, 100,000, how quickly can they get there? And are we watching it all the way through, constantly improving? And so one of the things that we've done a great job of is we have tremendous business success coaches. Every one of our business success coaches have been a former franchisee who's dedicated their time to have somebody be as successful as they were when they were a franchisee. I think that a lot of franchisees will have, call it PSTs or trainers, whatever they may be, that they hire that have never set foot in the business. And I just think that is a big point of differentiation for us, because when Cindy Taylor or Kelly Reed's going and helping a new franchisee build, they've already done it. They did it for 10 years. They've seen everything and they work with every franchisee. And so I think that's a big part of it. And then also just keeping things very simple. So we've got our playbook, right? Very course terminology. We constantly look to improve it. But we say for those first 100 days, very simple. You want 100 kids in your first 100 days. That's it. It will lead to revenue, will lead to all these things, but just get 100 kids. And this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with this channel because that's the easiest selling. Then we're going to start on long-term selling. And whatever you do, don't throw away the instruction manual. The playbook's been built there for a reason. Why you bought a franchise. The person, and you will still get franchisees who say, well, playbook's great. I'm going to go do it. Buy a franchise. Right? We're there to help you. And every single person that has done that has come back 69 years later and said, I wish I had listened to you and followed the process. And we don't have to be perfect. We just have to get you through those first 100 days. So at that point in time, you've hired a coach, fired a coach, had a kid who's happy, unhappy, had a director who's happy, unhappy, whatever it may be, lived the business long enough, and then start to figure out where is my white space in my mobile business, where, again, we're selling classes and instructional lessons into preschools, elementary schools, parks and rec. You start to figure out where your white space is in your territory.
That's very, very creative and thoughtful, especially since you're working across different brands. You know, you would think that would, well, for the franchisee who's maybe set on one and wouldn't understand the other two. And with that, how, due to the multiple brands that you have, how has your leadership style evolved in having to lead and guide and support these franchisees with each one that you have, each brand?
You have to love all your children equally. It's very, very important, right? And so in doing that as a multi-brand franchisor, it can be challenging, right? And sometimes you're giving more attention to one brand versus the other, which happen to be in a World Cup movement, right? Our U.S. team did pretty well. We always like seeing better, but listen, we're really proud of them. And so that can draw attention towards your soccer franchisees, or your tennis and golf franchisees. Say, look at me over here. So listen, we've got town halls, we've got brand advisory councils, we've got weekly meetings, and we try to give equal weighting regardless of the size of revenue for each brand, because every franchisee is invested in us at the same, right? So you really try to do the best you can. I think, again, being accountable in those scenarios is really important. And also just maybe going back to a tangential part of your question of anytime somebody wants to buy a second brand, we make sure that they're called 6 to 12 months and usually 12 months in their first brand before we let them take on that second brand. And we always make sure they understand the product first of what they have. Even if they want to buy two out of the gates, we'll make sure that they go and open that second one until 12 months later, because they haven't built a foundation there, how we're going to put the things on top. But it's been amazing to see, and it's hard to do. I mean, you guys have been around a while, a multi-brand franchise platform, to watch franchisees come in, call it that 30-40% multi-brand owners, but to watch them be able to come in our business and sell to a similar customer base, schools, parents, kids, and just pick it up so quickly, and really be able to stack. That's been really fun to watch. And listen, it sounds great on paper. It doesn't always execute well. And you both have seen many multi-brand franchisors in different spaces. We're fortunate that in our business, we also invested heavily in a tech platform that allows all the franchisees, regardless of the brand, class setups the same, camp setup the same, refunds, everything that we do marketing, all through one proprietary engine that we invested in for this long-term point of view. And that's really helped us in franchisee scale and give a great experience to the parent. right? They live one lot, and yet they can get all these wonderful experiences.
I like the tech play. We're actually talking to quite a bit of new, like super early, like I would say very early emerging franchisors that we've had a chance to speak with, and a lot of them are investing now in just the platform they're going to leverage to run their business, because they do understand that as they scale, there is complexity, right? And so with that, where do you think most emerging franchisors underestimate the operational complexity that comes with scaling? Which systems must mature first before rapid growth becomes sustainable?
For us, I wish we didn't have to invest in our proprietary tech stack. In our business, it was complicated and it's niche enough where we had to. I think if franchisors don't have to focus on tech, they're in a state where, or they're in an industry where there's really good called registration platform, e-commerce platforms. Great. Focus on sales, operations, marketing, the things that really drive revenue. Don't let tech be what slows you down. For us, we had to make a decision: do we build, buy, or license our technology stack? I mean, there was nothing for us to buy that could fit in there. There was nothing that licensed. And again, I think this is a really important piece. Everything that we could license probably got us 70% of the way there. But that last 30% is really important for a franchisee, the customer, the consumer. That was really our differentiation standpoint with our CTO to say, listen, he's like, guys, give me the money that we're going to go spend to license somebody else's software. We can build something very bespoke. We could have a really long-term point of view. And so for us, it definitely slowed us down early on. I think for other franchisees that can focus on unit economics, right? And that's where, it took us a while to get there, because we did a lot of things at once, and we acquired the brands. We didn't found any of our brands. We call it emerging founders. Just focus on unit level economics in franchise foundation. If I started this thing over again, that's where that knowing what I know now, everything about how great are my AUVs per franchisee, and are those franchisees happy so they can go about it and just continue to build unit level economics all the way through. So you need more franchises to scale. They've got to be happy, and they've got to be.
They're your best validators and the best sort of, right? Like if you have franchisees that are super successful and they get on calls with people that want to buy in, your job becomes a lot easier. Monica and I've learned that. We've learned that, right?
That's another reason it's so important to focus on franchisees, because they're selling it for you, right? Like they're gonna tell them the good, the bad, and the ugly, and their full experience. So ensuring their success then obviously helps in the long run. But speaking of technology and obviously AI are changing aspects of franchising nowadays. Where do relationships, or where do you think relationships still outperform automation? Like where you still have to kind of keep that personal touch?
Yeah. So for our conference, our theme, which will be in December, we'll have over 300 franchise owners and coaches and managers. It's actually going to be the unreasonable playbook. And it's how do you have operational excellence with your product, right? And we really kind of unreasonable hospitality. We're in the service business. So for our coaches to write handwritten notes or go to the extra mile and send that note to the kid, or making sure that that parent knows, your child learned how to kick the soccer ball, like swing a baseball bat, or did so amazing in their karate class. Those coach experiences and that high touch in a business that can't be replaced by an AI, can only be enhanced in terms of giving them, like say, more green time, less screen time, can make them operation more efficient. But the ability to connect with those kids and those parents, that is our business. So we are AI proof in that respect, right? Like you need to have high touch. We need to get kids active and moving. So that's the high touch part of the business that we're going to reinforce our franchisees in December, because sometimes we get really caught up in tech and AI and all these things, but we forget just that phone call to the parent, that email to that parent, or just making sure that kid gets that extra 30 seconds of attention in that class, just so that they can feel good about it and remember that positive coaching experience. That's why we do what we do. We don't have jobs anymore. We have these visions and missions, and that's where we really love to sit with our business when we think about AI and tech.
You come across as a very humble guy to me, and so this question's a little bit more about your career. What leadership habit has had the greatest impact on your own career?
So I'd say if I could use two, I'd say two if you don't mind. So one is I've always been a networker. I never know what that conversation might lead to something else. But what the reason that I'm here today with myself and the partners that I brought in is my former CFO when I was at Everlast knew that I would take the month of May and I would just network just to learn business and just learn from people. He said there's this one gentleman I really wanted to meet, Blake Gower. I just think you guys have very similar personalities. Blake was a private equity. I was really still at us and just learning merchandising, marketing, consumer products. And we met at the same coffee shop every May for 10 years straight. He ended up being our investor in Youth Athletes United and what we did here today. And so that network effect of constantly just, sometimes you're just learning. Sometimes you're giving back. I always love to give back, but just that constant pay it forward people has led to so much success for me personally, professionally. It's just very rewarding, right? I don't care if it's not always about me. If it helps somebody else, it's always great too. But I think that networking piece is very important. And I have a relentless attitude. My employees know it, my partners know it. If there's something that I know can be achieved, I will be that person that will have 100-chain email until I find a way to text the code. I will go meet with that person. I'll use an angle. But if I know it's right and I know we can get there, I will not stop till we get there. And it's been, I think those things are really important because, being an entrepreneur, being CEO, being a friend, all these things, there's always challenges, right? There's always roadblocks. Finding your way to navigate those things in life are just so important. I find so many people that they have a roadblock in front of them, they just stop. That's our number one lesson to new franchisees coming in. So, everybody talks about how do you validate a new franchise candidate? One of the things that we do is we actually have, kind of a minute to win it. Have to give us a sales pitch on anything they want to sell to us. And then they have to be able to take feedback. And we really see how coachable are, how they respond to it. But the biggest thing that we tell them, and we either talk people in or out to come in as businesses, if you go somewhere and somebody says, we're going to sell it with preschool as an example, and they say, oh, well, we have an enrichment, and you just stop. This is not going to be right for you. Do you like your enrichment fighter? How often they come? What age groups? And really try to find your way to an opportunity. That's just a really relentless, dedicated approach that I have, that our best franchisees have, that our employees have in their projects.
I like that. It's different from the standard process that's out there, the recruiting process, right? And it sounds like what you're looking for is really specific mindsets. Now that you've spoken to probably hundreds of franchise owners by this point, are there mindset patterns that you recognize early on during that process that you just know that this is the right person or this is not the right person?
Yeah, there's always some commonality. We have so many different franchisees that have been successful, but the biggest thing we start is, do you want to be the mayor of youth sports? Right. Do you want to be the communitarian and actually be out in the community and, help, positively impact kids through sports? If their first response was, well, can I hire somebody else to do it? Probably not right for you. Listen, your business, your brand, your personal currency, you got to go build it. Right. So that's one really important piece. Two is, again, that approach to be able to, we can teach somebody how to be a good salesperson, but if they don't make you smile the second, they don't have that positive energy when you meet them, and they are literally just like, again, like those are just these personality traits. You can learn your way through selling into an opportunity, but you can't teach somebody how to be positive, have to have good energy, right? And so it's those energy and that communitarian, and then also it's just time, right? Full-time effort, full-time results. Part-time effort, part-time results. And you hear it over and over in franchising. Some people want, these absentee models. We say, listen, we want you to have we do find a lot of really good owners who will call it we call it executive company, right? It might be at 20 hours a week, but they still could do the things that are really important to us. and they're hiring smart people around them, but they still will go south. They've been the communitarian, and they're the right energy and can build a culture. But it's the time that you could put into it, the investment you could put into it, and just being able to just be fun, engaging, just love what you passionate about what you do.
That culture piece, as time goes on, I just realize like even within the region that I manage for another brand, if we bring in the wrong franchisee, forget it. It throws off the whole balance of the whole team. And now you're trying to, it's not great. But yeah, I agree with you, Adam, 100%. One of my final questions would be, if you could give one piece of advice to every emerging franchisor listening today, what would that be?
I meet with every single new franchise team that comes through. I want them to know that they can meet the CEO. There's nothing that's too big for me. Same thing with the president. And I think that's really important for emerging franchisors. Meet with all. I don't care who you hire, who's in between you. And it's exactly what you said earlier on. Like, the reason why I spend that time with a really good franchise candidate, I may never have to talk to again. They're going to do great. They're going to follow the process. I want to, but like, they'll start from the good path. If you bring in 5, 10 of the wrong candidates, you spend more time with the people that are more challenging, and you learn your way through it. And it's hard to say no when you're early on, right? Franchise fees, you need the franchise fees, but go back to our fundamental principle: unit level economics, that personal currency, that validation. Less is more. Really good franchise owners who are playing with you, if you can be patient and really get through there. And I also say, you don't always know who's going to be successful. I don't care what litmus tests you do. I don't care AI. I don't care what's out there. You guys have a little bit of that gut feel of like when you want to take the bet on something, right? And you're not always going to be right. There's always going to be 80-20 rule. Don't count. We're not saying count candidates out early because you want to be so selective, but down like exactly what I'm talking about. Just be real critical. Find what's really important to you to get those right franchisees in there, because they are the ones that influence and drive your business. And the ones that are not great, and you'll always have some, they suck the life out of you. They suck the energy out of you, and it's hard, right? It can be really hard. And so just try to get the best games you can early on.
Yeah, earlier you talked about one of the core, I think, values for your leadership team was accountability. And I'll tell you, I do not like excuse making. I struggle with it. So when someone's not taking accountability, it's like, look, man, like, you have to go and do community activation. You have to go out and meet with people if you want your business to grow. And if you expect digital ads to carry it, it's just not going to happen. Like, you have, to your point, you have to be out. People have to know you care. You truly care, right? And that's showing up authentically, time after time. It drives better results for your business. And I'll tell you, franchisees that understand that and actually implement that, I can see just in my small world, not compared to your, like, we're gonna have to get like a running tally for all the brands that you guys have now, especially this new one you guys are going to launch, which is awesome. I can't wait to hear about that when you guys make that announcement. But it's just doing the work. It's not complicated. It's really not complicated, man. It's just doing the work.
And I just close out with just one last piece that is also, when you get it wrong, it's actually okay to be wrong. And I think a lot of franchisors will just hold on to call it with franchise fees. And we've had franchises that come in 30 days, 6 months, 12 months, and usually it's anywhere between 6 to 12 months, and we've actually helped them out of the system. We've had a neighbor who's acquired them or helped them resell, but like, those early conversations, because you're going to get it wrong, or life is going to happen. There's going to be something that inevitably will not make this franchise successful. Be accountable, be a partner with them. And I tell you, some of our best validators are actually the franchisees that have left the system in 12 days, 6 months, because it was a good journey, it was a good experience. And I have to say, listen, it wasn't your fault, it was me. But the fact that you helped me get out of it and you helped me find your way meant a lot to show me how much you care. So it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to not admit it, not do anything about it. Try to fix it early and address it early. When we've done a really good job as a high growth franchisee to help the good people be greater, and the people who wasn't right for it, it's okay. We've helped them out too. Life is short. Right?
What we say in my organization in the Northeast here is we're going to help them have a healthy exit from the organization, because at some point you felt like they were a match, and then you gained some more data points and additional signals that told you maybe they're not a match. And so be respectful, right? Be respectful and and help them out, I think is a great approach. Because I think it also talks, I think, more broadly about the character of the organization that's actually doing the helping of that franchisee. I think too many franchisors get defensive and want to point fingers, and that's not the goal at that point. The goal is actually helping them have a healthy exit from the organization.
Yes. What is your end game? How do we help you? All those things. Totally agree with you.
And guess what? Your other franchisees are watching, so be careful how you do it, right? So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Adam. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Youth Athletes United, and if someone's interested, where they can find you online?
Yeah. So youthathletesunited.com. You don't have to choose a brand. You choose us, right? We'll help you find the best brand that's available for you, your territory. We love what we do. We're looking for more people to join our franchise family, people who are passionate about being that humanitarian, positive impacted sports in their community. That's what we're looking for. And yeah, we just love them. It's sometimes husband and wife, sometimes it's older and younger. It's a real mix of long, but everybody has the same passion, vision, mission. The more people that we get, we love.
Adam, is there going to be a formal press release with this new brand? How do we keep track of this?
Yes. Next 30 days, we will be announcing a few things that will be very exciting, both from additional investment into our company as well as the new brands that we're going to be bringing to the portfolio.
Man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I just love your energy. I love what you're doing. I love what you guys stand for. I wish you guys nothing but success, honestly.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Monica.